She smirked, "You're not worth my time," with 8 friends watching, so I put cash on the table and walked out. What they told her after I left made her call me crying at 12:04 a.m. I should have known something was off when Brooke started checking her phone every 5 minutes during what was supposed to be our celebration dinner. 3 years together, and I'd planned this anniversary evening at Morton's Steakhouse in downtown Nashville, complete with reservations for her 8 college sorority sisters who were visiting from Atlanta. I'm Felix, 29, a paramedic supervisor who also runs weekend wilderness first aid courses for outdoor enthusiasts and corporate team-building events. Brooke, 28, works as a freelance event stylist for luxury weddings and had been living in my downtown loft apartment for 18 months. The evening started well enough. I'd picked up the entire tab without hesitation, ordering appetizers and wine for everyone while Brooke showed off the vintage Leica camera I'd helped her finance for her wedding photography business. But when Jessica, her former sorority president, mentioned her boyfriend's recent promotion to investment banking at Goldman Sachs, something shifted in Brooke's demeanor. Felix suggested we do a romantic weekend camping trip to the Smoky Mountains for our anniversary, Brooke announced loudly, rolling her eyes dramatically. Can you imagine? Sleeping in tents when I've been researching this incredible Napa Valley wine tour with helicopter transfers and private tastings. I felt my face flush as 8 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I thought you loved our camping trips, I said quietly. Plus, we discussed our budget constraints after your recent equipment purchases. Brooke's expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, pure contempt mixed with embarrassment. Budget constraints, she repeated, her voice dripping with disdain. You know what? You're completely not worth my time anymore. I'm dating an ambulance driver who teaches Boy Scout wannabes wilderness survival on weekends while Jessica's dating someone who just bought a penthouse in Buckhead. The table fell silent except for the clinking of silverware and uncomfortable shifting in chairs. Brooke, maybe we should, Jessica started, but Brooke cut her off. No, let me finish. It's embarrassing explaining to people that my boyfriend drives a pickup truck because it's practical, instead of leasing something decent like a BMW or Audi. My friends date hedge fund managers and tech executives who understand sophistication and ambition. I sat there absorbing every word while she continued her assault on my character and career choices. His big business plan is teaching first aid to outdoorsy weirdos and college dropouts who think they're going to become wilderness guides. Meanwhile, real men are building actual wealth and taking their girlfriends to places that matter. The irony wasn't lost on me that she was saying all this while wearing the $800 dress I'd bought her last month and sitting at a table where I was covering a $420 dinner bill for 9 people. I save lives for a living, I said calmly. And my training company is growing because people value learning life-saving skills. Life-saving skills, she laughed bitterly. You're a glorified taxi driver with a medical kit, and your weekend hobby business makes what, maybe $2,000 a month? Jessica's boyfriend just got a bonus that's more than you make in a year. I looked around the table at her friends, seeing a mixture of shock, embarrassment, and what looked like pity in their faces. Some were staring at their plates, others checking their phones, clearly uncomfortable with the public humiliation they were witnessing. You know what, Brooke? I said, reaching for my wallet. You're absolutely right. I'm not worth your time. I pulled out my wallet and placed $420 in cash on the table, covering everyone's meals plus tip. Have a wonderful evening, ladies, I said, standing and grabbing my jacket from the chair. Brooke, your keys are in the apartment. You know where to find them. I walked out of Morton's without looking back, ignoring the stunned silence behind me and the sound of chairs scraping as people shifted uncomfortably. Within 20 minutes of reaching my paramedic partner Derek's house, my phone started buzzing with missed calls, first from Brooke, then from Jessica, then numbers I didn't recognize. By midnight, I had 73 missed calls and text messages that evolved from frantic apologies to accusations of public abandonment to threats about financial manipulation. Felix, I was drunk and stressed about work. You can't just leave me stranded downtown with 8 people to explain to, read the first message. By 2 a.m., the tone had shifted. How dare you humiliate me in front of my friends? Walking out like some dramatic child instead of being an adult and talking through our issues. Derek let me crash on his couch and listen to the whole story while his wife made coffee. "Brother, she showed you exactly who she is when she thinks she has an audience," he said. "Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Thursday morning, instead of wallowing or checking my phone, I made 3 strategic decisions that would change everything. First, I called Mountain Ridge Adventure Company and accepted their standing offer to provide wilderness medical training for their guides, a contract worth $8,000 over 6 months that Brooke had pressured me to decline because it meant weekend work. Second, I enrolled in advanced trauma certification courses that would qualify me for higher-paying emergency medical consulting. Third, I expanded my wilderness training business by reaching out to 3 outdoor adventure companies that had expressed interest in comprehensive first aid programs for their staff and clients. When Brooke appeared at the fire station Friday afternoon, demanding to speak with me through the bay doors, I refused to come outside. "We need to talk about what happened at dinner," she called out loud enough for my crew to hear. "I overreacted, but you abandoned me in public, and we need to work through this like adults." "Actually, we don't," I replied from inside the station. "Your name was never on my lease, Brooke. Legally, you were a temporary resident with no claims to property or ongoing relationship obligations. I confirmed this with my lawyer friend yesterday." Her face went white. "You talked to a lawyer? About us?" "I talked to someone who explained tenant rights versus relationship rights. There's a difference." She tried a different approach, softening her voice. "Felix, if you're worried about those videos from dinner, I can handle the social media situation. Some people were recording, but I'll ask them to delete anything problematic." "Videos?" I hadn't even considered that possibility, but her immediate mention of damage control told me everything I needed to know about how badly the evening had played out after I left. "What videos?" I asked. "Just some people filming their dinners when things got heated. But Jessica and I can reach out to everyone and explain the situation." The fact that she was already in damage control mode meant the restaurant scene had been even worse than I'd realized. "Brooke, I'm not interested in managing your reputation or explaining your behavior to anyone. You made your feelings about me very clear to 8 witnesses in a public place." She attempted one final manipulation. "I gave up lucrative wedding contracts this year to support your dead-end emergency services career. I could have been building my brand with high-profile clients instead of staying home while you worked overtime shifts." I had to laugh. "Brooke, I have bank statements showing I covered rent, utilities, groceries, and your equipment payments for 18 months while you spent your wedding income on photography workshops and personal branding courses. Supporting my career? You spent more on Instagram ads for your styling business than you contributed to household expenses." Her face cycled through surprise, anger, and something that looked like genuine panic as she realized I'd been paying attention to financial details she thought I'd ignored. Saturday morning brought an unexpected invasion force to my loft apartment. Brooke's mother Linda, her younger sister Amber, and 4 sorority sisters including Jessica, all armed with boxes and attitude. "We're here to collect Brooke's belongings," Linda announced, pushing past me into the living room like she owned the place. "She has every right to her personal property." I watched them systematically attempt to claim camera equipment, furniture, decorative pieces, and even my wilderness medical training supplies. "That vintage leather medical bag was my graduation gift to Brooke," Linda declared, pointing to the antique physician's bag I'd displayed on my bookshelf. I walked to my filing cabinet and produced the receipt. "Actually, I bought this 2 years before I met Brooke from an estate sale in Franklin. Here's the dated receipt and the canceled check." Amber's confidence wavered as I systematically produced purchase documentation for every disputed item: the camera lens Brooke claimed she'd bought herself, my Amazon order from March, the coffee table she said was a family heirloom, my receipt from West Elm, even the throw pillows she insisted were wedding gifts from clients turned out to be items I'd ordered from Pottery Barn. "This is ridiculous," Brooke interjected, appearing from the bedroom with her actual belongings. "Felix, we've been together 3 years. Some things become shared property through natural relationship progression." I noticed she kept glancing at her sister Amber with warning looks, as if signaling her to stay quiet about something important. "Speaking of shared property and relationship progression," Brooke continued, her voice taking on a calculated sweetness, I have some major news that might change how we approach dividing assets and planning our future together. The pregnant pause felt deliberate, like she was hinting at engagement expectations or even pregnancy. But Amber, clearly uncomfortable with the mounting tension, made a crucial mistake. Brooke, didn't you just consult with that divorce attorney about protecting assets in relationships? I thought you said, Amber. Brooke snapped, her face flushing red. That was hypothetical research for a client's wedding planning situation. The room fell silent as everyone processed what had just been revealed. Brooke had been consulting divorce attorneys about asset protection while living in my apartment and planning our anniversary dinner. A client's wedding planning situation, I repeated slowly. What kind of wedding stylist needs divorce attorney consultations for their work? Jessica looked genuinely confused. Brooke, what client situation would require that kind of legal research? Instead of answering, Brooke tried redirecting attention. Felix, there's something else we need to discuss privately. Something about trust and honesty in relationships. I had a feeling I knew where this was heading, and I wasn't wrong. 6 weeks ago, you shared a hotel suite with Camden, that celebrity wedding photographer, during the Aspen destination wedding. Your expense report listed it as professional accommodation, but the hotel confirmed it was a romantic suite booking for 2 people. Her support group began shifting uncomfortably as I continued. Camden called me yesterday. Apparently, you made advances claiming I was emotionally immature and professionally stagnant, but he rejected you completely. That explains your hostility at dinner, displaced humiliation from being turned down by someone you thought was a better option. Brooke's face went white, then red, then something approaching purple. That's absolutely false. Camden and I had strictly professional interactions during a high-stress luxury wedding weekend. He has text messages, I said calmly. Screenshots of you asking if he thought emergency medical work was beneath someone with real ambition, and whether he'd be interested in exploring options with someone who understood sophisticated lifestyle goals. Jessica quietly apologized to me and left without another word, followed by 2 other sorority sisters who suddenly remembered urgent appointments elsewhere. Within an hour, my apartment was cleared of visitors, and Brooke was alone with boxes of her actual belongings, looking smaller and more desperate than I'd ever seen her. That evening, she began creating TikTok videos portraying herself as a victim of financial control, posting carefully curated clips from our relationship with captions about escaping toxic relationships and recognizing emotional manipulation patterns, conveniently omitting any context about who had actually been paying for the lifestyle she was now claiming to escape. Monday morning brought a concerning call from my fire chief about anonymous reports questioning my professionalism with training participants, specifically allegations of inappropriate conduct during wilderness medical courses. Felix, I'm obligated to mention this, but honestly, we're not taking it seriously, Chief Williams said. Your 6-year record is exemplary, your instructor evaluations are consistently outstanding, and these complaints are suspiciously vague and poorly written. Sounds like someone's trying to damage your reputation. I had a pretty good idea who might be behind anonymous reports, but I focused on letting my work speak for itself. Meanwhile, Brooke's TikTok videos were gaining traction with her 4,200 followers, generating sympathetic comments about financial abuse and emotional manipulation. Her carefully edited clips showed moments of me working late, paying for dinners, and discussing budget concerns, but presented completely out of context to support her narrative of being controlled and financially isolated. For 3 days, the social media sympathy campaign seemed to be working in her favor. Then everything changed when 6 different restaurant patrons simultaneously posted their recorded footage from our anniversary dinner. The videos were devastating. They showed Brooke, clearly intoxicated on the champagne I'd been buying all evening, cruelly dismissing me as not worth my time, and mocking my pathetic ambulance driver existence, while I remained composed and respectful throughout her attack. The footage captured my dignified cash payment and quiet exit, followed by the uncomfortable silence at the table and her friend's obvious embarrassment. Public sentiment reversed dramatically and swiftly. Jessica was the first to comment on Brooke's victim narrative video. Brooke, we all watched you humiliate a literal lifesaver who was paying for your anniversary dinner. This victim act is pure manipulation, and I'm ashamed I didn't speak up that night. Another diner named Marcus, who owned a family catering business, wrote, "Imagine telling someone they're not worth your time while they're covering your expensive dinner, your rent, and funding your photography hobby. This woman has serious entitlement issues." The comment sections exploded with people sharing their own experiences with financially manipulative partners and praising my restraint during what they called public emotional abuse. Wedding industry connections began distancing themselves from Brooke as the videos circulated through professional networks. A prominent venue coordinator publicly questioned whether someone who displayed such contempt for emergency responders aligned with their celebration and gratitude brand values. The Luxury Wedding Venue Association, which had been considering Brooke for their preferred vendor list, viewed the footage and immediately questioned whether her attitude toward service professionals reflected their standards for member businesses. Within days, Brooke's social media narrative completely collapsed. Her TikTok comments shifted from supportive to critical, with people calling out her obvious manipulation tactics and praising my professional composure. Several emergency medical professionals shared the videos, commenting on the importance of respecting first responders and the irony of someone mocking life-saving work while benefiting from the financial stability it provided. The viral nature of the restaurant footage meant that Brooke's victim narrative was being directly contradicted by objective evidence of her behavior, witnessed by multiple neutral parties who had no reason to favor either of us. Her attempt to control the story through selective editing and emotional manipulation had backfired spectacularly when confronted with unedited reality showing exactly who had been treating whom poorly in our relationship. 4 weeks after the restaurant incident, I was awakened at 3 a.m. by my building's security calling about someone attempting to enter my loft using old keypad codes. Brooke had somehow gotten past the lobby and was demanding access to what she called jointly acquired assets, until security arrived and threatened arrest. I provided them with my lease documentation and her signed acknowledgement of temporary residency status, which legally protected me from any claims she might make about property rights or cohabitation agreements. The next escalation came through her attorney, who sent a demand letter that was so outrageous it almost seemed like parody. She was seeking $22,000 for wrongful displacement, $12,000 for reputational damages, half the assessed value of my loft and medical equipment, and 18 months of domestic partnership compensation for unpaid household contributions including cooking, cleaning, and emotional support services. Derek's wife, who happens to be an attorney, reviewed the demand letter in exchange for wilderness medical training for her upcoming Appalachian Trail hike. Her response was brief and devastating. A complete rejection of all claims, accompanied by the viral restaurant videos as evidence of public humiliation and emotional abuse, plus documentation showing I had subsidized Brooke's lifestyle while she contributed virtually nothing to household expenses or maintenance. The Wedding Venue Association's Professional Standards Committee contacted me directly, requesting my perspective on an incident involving a member stylist that has raised concerns about professional conduct and industry representation. I provided unedited video footage from the restaurant, financial documentation showing the subsidized lifestyle arrangement, and character references from clients who had worked with both of us during wedding events. I kept my response factual and professional, letting the evidence speak for itself rather than editorializing about Brooke's character or behavior patterns. By Friday, Brooke confronted me at the firehouse, claiming I had orchestrated her professional destruction through malicious reputation attacks and coordinated social media campaigns. "You turned my own friends against me," she accused. "You manipulated the situation to make me look bad and destroy my wedding business connections." Brooke, 8 witnesses and multiple video recordings constitute public behavior choices, not manipulation, I replied calmly. I didn't create those videos, edit them, or distribute them. You made decisions in front of your own industry colleagues and potential clients. But you could have asked people not to post them. You could have defended me or provided context about our relationship struggles. The context was clear in the footage. You publicly humiliated someone who was paying for your anniversary dinner while mocking his profession in front of 8 witnesses. That's not relationship struggle, that's character revelation. She tried one final angle. The wedding association is reviewing my membership because of those videos. My reputation in the luxury event industry is completely destroyed. Your reputation is based on your documented behavior towards service professionals, which is exactly what luxury venues care about when selecting vendors. You created your own career consequences through decisions made in public, in front of colleagues, while representing yourself as a professional in the wedding industry. The conversation ended with her storming off, but I could see the reality finally settling in. Her attempt to manipulate the narrative had not only failed but had amplified the very behavior she was trying to hide, creating professional consequences that extended far beyond our personal relationship into her career aspirations and industry connections. 7 weeks after the anniversary disaster, my life had transformed in ways I couldn't have imagined. Mountain Emergency Training, my expanded wilderness medical company, had booked 18 corporate contracts including team-building programs for tech companies, medical training for outdoor adventure guides, and emergency preparedness courses for construction firms. The state park service partnership I'd secured was worth $125,000 annually, providing comprehensive first aid training for rangers, volunteer search and rescue teams, and public safety education programs throughout Tennessee's park system. I renovated my loft apartment, replacing Brooke's stark minimalist aesthetic with rustic outdoor elements that actually reflected my personality, reclaimed wood furniture, vintage medical equipment displays, and photography from my wilderness training expeditions. For the first time in years, I was sleeping 8 hours a night and waking up energized instead of stressed about financial demands and relationship drama. Through mutual connections in the emergency services community, I learned that Brooke's situation had deteriorated significantly. 2 major wedding venues had dropped her from their preferred vendor lists citing professional conduct concerns. Her leased BMW had been repossessed after missing 3 payments, and she'd moved back to her mother's suburban house in Brentwood. Her lifestyle blog, Elevated Event Aesthetics, had attracted exactly 189 followers despite her constant posting about luxury wedding trends and sophisticated design concepts. Then Jessica sent me a message that provided crucial context about the restaurant evening. "Felix, I need to tell you something that's been bothering me. After you left Morton's that night, Brooke spent 3 hours justifying her behavior to us, but she accidentally revealed information that contradicted everything she'd told us about your relationship. She mentioned you'd been covering her equipment payments and workshop fees while she'd told us she was building financial independence and splitting expenses equally." Jessica continued. "When I questioned her about the financial arrangements, she called me basic and unambitious for not understanding that successful women deserve men who invest in their potential. Then she insulted Marcus's family catering business as small-town amateur hour compared to her luxury wedding styling work. By the end of the evening, half our group had left because she was being so toxic." The revelation explained why her former friends had turned against her so quickly when the videos surfaced. They'd already witnessed her true character that night but hadn't spoken up until they saw objective evidence of her behavior. Jessica's fiancé, an emergency room physician who volunteers with search and rescue teams, needed wilderness medical training for his upcoming deployment with disaster relief organizations. Their multi-year consulting contract would provide advanced trauma care education and emergency response protocols, adding another $18,000 annually to my business revenue. Additionally, 4 restaurant patrons who owned outdoor recreation businesses had contacted me directly after seeing the viral videos, specifically mentioning they hired my services because of my professional composure during Brooke's public attack. "Anyone who can stay that calm under pressure is exactly who we want training our staff in emergency situations," wrote the owner of a whitewater rafting company who booked my services for their entire guide team. 10 weeks after the restaurant incident, I received an unexpected call from Camden, the Aspen wedding photographer whose name had caused so much drama during Brooke's asset collection visit. "Felix, I need you to understand something important," he said. "Nothing happened between Brooke and me in Aspen. She made advances claiming you were emotionally immature and professionally stagnant, but when I researched your emergency medical work and saw your actual relationship photos on social media, I realized she was fabricating everything about your character and your relationship dynamic." Camden continued, "I rejected her advances completely, which explains her hostility at that anniversary dinner, displaced humiliation from being turned down by someone she thought was a better option. She's now threatening to report me for harassment and claiming I initiated inappropriate contact, so I wanted you aware of her pattern of manipulating situations when they don't go her way. The phone call confirmed what I'd suspected. Brooke's public attack on me had been motivated by embarrassment and rejection, not genuine relationship dissatisfaction. She tried to upgrade to what she perceived as a more successful partner, been rejected, and taken out her frustration on me in the most cruel way possible. Meanwhile, Brooke was sending increasingly desperate messages from borrowed phones and new social media accounts I hadn't blocked yet. Her mother was charging her rent, she was working at a chain photography store making $12 an hour, her lifestyle blog had generated zero revenue despite months of effort, and she was facing potential eviction from her mother's house if she couldn't contribute to household expenses. Felix, I know I was horrible to you, but I'm drowning here, read one message. I've lost everything. My business connections, my apartment, my car, even my friends who think I'm toxic. I'll make public retractions about everything I said. I'll go to therapy and take full accountability. I just need temporary financial assistance to get back on my feet and prove I can change. I considered her request for exactly 2 hours, remembering some genuinely good moments from our 3 years together and feeling sympathy for anyone struggling financially. But then I remembered her words at Morton's, "You're completely not worth my time anymore." I remembered her mocking my profession as ambulance driver who teaches Boy Scout wannabes, while I paid for her anniversary dinner. I remembered her calling me her financial safety net instead of her boyfriend. Brooke, Best Buy on Music Valley Drive is hiring for their photography department, I replied. They value people with photography knowledge and social media skills. Your background should be perfect for their customer service and equipment sales positions. Her final message came an hour later. You've become cold and heartless. The Felix the first fell in love with would never leave someone struggling like this. I replied, No, Brooke. I'm just no longer someone who's not worth your time. Good luck, and blocked all remaining communication channels. 12 weeks after the anniversary dinner, Linda, Brooke's mother, called to apologize. Felix, I owe you an explanation and an apology, she said. Brooke finally told me the complete truth about the financial arrangements, about Camden, and about her contempt for your profession. I'm ashamed of how my daughter treated you and how I supported her demands for property that was never hers. My wilderness medical training business continued expanding beyond my expectations. The State Park Service partnership had led to 6 additional contracts with outdoor recreation companies, emergency management agencies, and corporate wellness programs. I hired 3 part-time instructors to handle the increased demand, transforming my weekend side business into a legitimate training organization that was making a real difference in community safety and emergency preparedness. At an outdoor equipment store last week, I encountered Brooke loading discount camera accessories into a damaged 2020 Honda Civic. She started walking toward me, probably planning another desperate reconciliation attempt, but stopped when she noticed my new company vehicle with professional mountain emergency training, saving lives through education, decals, and equipment racks. She turned away without acknowledgement, disappearing into the store while I completed my purchase of new training supplies for next month's corporate contracts.